Hi everyone, and welcome to the Holy Empress. Today we'll ask how to stay persistent at something even when it's hard. How to have persistence even when it's hard. The Hanged Man, truly the star of this channel. Become comfortable being uncomfortable. Be open to seeing things from new perspectives. Don't worry so much about what you have to achieve and focus more on the process. To sort of tease out a little bit more those three things, right? Become comfortable in the uncomfortable. So it's hard, right? You're trying to do something, but it's hard, and that's uncomfortable. But if you just relax into it, it won't be so hard. A big part of the reason why it's uncomfortable is because you're fighting against it, and you don't want it to be uncomfortable, and you just want to be easy sailing all the time. Just accept that sometimes it's going to be hard sometimes, and it's going to be uncomfortable sometimes, and you can do difficult things. You can handle uncomfortable emotions and still do whatever it is that you got to do. For the second thing, be open to seeing things from new perspectives. So it might be hard to do this thing that you want to try to be persistent at because you have a very narrow view of what it is, or a very narrow framing of what it is. You can, one, reframe it as something that's your choice. So if this is something for work, think like, okay, I chose to accept this job. I chose to have this job. If I want to have a different job, I can choose to go out there and search for a different job. And it's like, well, I don't do that because the job search is like hard and difficult and whatever. And it's like, okay. But the key thing here is like, okay, you're making that choice. You are weighing it out and you've decided that the job search is more difficult than this. So you're choosing this. You're choosing this even though it's hard. So that's one way in which being open to new ideas, being open to reframing can be helpful. Another thing is something I saw in a hybrid calisthenics video recently. I'm trying to remember what the video title was, but I'm not going to remember. In it, Hampton talks about how when you're working on something, there's often various areas of it that you can work on. So for example, if you're working on learning the piano, one day you can work on scales, and another day you can work on fingering, and another day you can work on songs, and another day you can work on brushing up your musical theory, and you might not even be at the piano that day, but you're still directing effort towards it. So that's, to me, what this advice of being open to new perspectives means. It's also about like, okay, what are different ways that I can be persistent and keep doing this thing that is not just like dragging myself through something that I find really awful, you know, like just add a little variety into how you do this thing, and then that might make it more exciting and more interested and easier to stay persistent even when it's hard. The last piece of advice, what was it? Oh yeah, the last piece of advice, don't worry so much about the achievements and focus more on the process. Sometimes things are hard because we're not seeing the return from them that we want to be seeing and that we expect to be seeing, that would make it feel worthwhile. This activity that you want to be persistent on should be worthwhile in and of itself for it to be valuable to you. So focus more on that, on the way that it's valuable in and of itself, rather than for what it can bring you in the future. So if you focus more on the process rather than what you're getting from it, that should make it easier to stay persistent, regardless of whether it's easy or hard. You know, that's what we want. We want that consistency independent of external factors. So if you focus more on the process, less on the outcome, you should be able to get that. Like and subscribe. See you next time. This is the Holy Empress.